This is Lewis, and this is going to be a generic advertisement until I get caught up with all the content that I need to upload. Be sure to check out Play Asia using my affiliate link. If you're a walking wallet gamer like me, check out Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. I've played it, it's pretty good, and thanks to recent patches, it's almost completely functional. On the other hand, if you're a normie weeb, check out Persona 5, which is out now. I'm told that this is the best Persona game in years, which means nothing to me, but for you it could make the difference in buying it using my affiliate link. If you're an advanced weeb, and no, I don't mean advanced in that of an affliction, be sure to check out J-List for innocuous, non-degenerative material. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching,
go fuck yourself,
and links for everything mentioned can be found in the description.
So this is Lewis, and this will hopefully be a concise commentary on a question that was asked of me a while back, but I wanted to give a response to now because at the time I didn't have an answer, and that was to the question, when will all of this end in relation to social justice, progressivism, intersectional feminism, all of that kind of thing? When will this end? And at the time my answer was, I don't know. And I think that that's the humble answer for anyone that is not baked into this conversation to give, because this is not an easy question to answer, and I don't think that anyone really knows. But I did want to offer something that I did come to the conclusion based on a number of factors, and also a bit of conspiratorial thinking on my part. I think that in relation to intersectional feminism, sort of Islamist fetishism that we see now, or fetishism of Islam, progressivism, and social justice, in relation to those topics, and I do lump them together, I think that you will begin to see those topics collapse once the money runs out for the NGOs, for the not-for-profits, for the activist organizations. Once the money dries up, and it will eventually dry up. Once it dries up, this whole charade is over. Because, in my opinion, this Pepsi commercial, which people are not properly addressing, and I'd cover it if I had the fucking time, but I don't. You know, as soon as I click stop on this commentary, I'm going to go fucking shave, take a shower, and go to fucking bed because I'm working in the morning. I don't have the fucking time to do what I want to do in relation to this video. I've seen at least 2 to 3 videos on this Pepsi commercial, all awful, all terrible, and I'm not trying to knock Ethan from H3H3 because I like them. Terrible commentary. Terrible. Like, it is just for goofs and gags and all that shit, but if you're going to actually cover something, cover it. I say this because I think this commercial is actually very eye-opening, at least it was to me, because I think this was a power play. Because I don't think it's a coincidence that you have Pepsi pulling out of YouTube in a very public fashion and then immediately publishing this commercial. And I understand that this commercial was in the works for quite a while, but it seems too big of a coincidence where, you know, you have big-name YouTubers, PewDiePie among everyone else, that are being slandered as Nazis, for lack of a better way to put it, and they don't put it any more coherently than that. And then you have the platform being attacked as hosting white supremacy and all sorts of other bullshit. And then there's this pullout, and then you have this advert where it seems to me a legitimate attempt to win progressives. I think that, unfortunately for Pepsi, it didn't work out the way that they planned it. I think that they wanted to co-opt all of the things that were featured in this advertisement. You had transgenderism. You had the concept of multiracialism.
My man!
Which, you know, by itself, I'm not against these things, but it's not about the topics. It's about co-opting them as a corporation. In terms of corporate America, they want these people, these activists, these progressives, to associate Pepsi with their ideology because they know it will be good for them. They know that if they win over this cult, this religion, it will benefit them because they will associate their own righteousness with Pepsi, with a brand. So let's just go down the list again. Transgenderism, you had multiracialism, you had pandering to progressive activism and protests and Black Lives Matter. And then you have the fetishism of Islam, which no one has touched. I've seen people outright skip this part. And in my opinion, this is the most relevant portion of the entire video. This is a new thing. This is a new phenomenon, in my opinion, in America, is the fetishism of Islam on a mainstream level. Then you have the obvious of anti-consumerism from their point of view, of feminism from their point of view. It's fucking obvious what they're trying to do with this commercial in that league with fucking what's-her-face, the sister or whoever the fuck related to whoever the fuck related to the chick that got banged by, I think, Kanye or some other fucking person, or is now married to Kanye. You know, I don't know who the fuck these people are. They try to include a pop culture person, a celebrity, with these topics. And they thought that these things together would have been enough to bait the progressives into falling into this trap of saying, actually, yes, we do support Pepsi because they support us and they support our ideology and they support what we support, which is all of these things. And like I said, I'm not necessarily against any of these things, especially, multiracialism, if you know me. The big issue here, from my perspective in relation to this video and to this topic of when does this end, it's when the money dries up. It's when the NGOs, the activist organizations, the non-for-profits run out of sources of income, run out of fucking idiots to bilk for money. Because that is what these organizations care about. And it's one of the things that I want to do a video on, which is the fact that these activist organizations, if you want to even be generous, but these not-for-profits are just the proxy between corporations and politicians. That's the role they serve. And they also lend credibility. That's the other dynamic I'm going to be talking about if I ever have the fucking time to do that video, which at this point I have no idea when I'll be able to get to it. But it's very curious what's going on now. And I think that one of the only reasons why progressives are going to continue to be relevant, especially now with fucking Bernie Sanders talking about his support of the intervention in Syria. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ. I mean, these tweets that are going around of like 44 so-called left-wing outlets just spamming favorable articles about deposing Assad. It's fucking insane. The only non-interventionalists that you're going to find after this point are going to be on the right. They're going to be Trump supporters. It's insane. It's insane what we're watching. We're watching corporatism completely engulf the left. Just completely just absorb it. And I'm going to tell you this, that something is going on with the Young Turks. And again, this might be conspiratorial thinking, but I've seen more than one person talk about this, that they've tried to look at, let's say, David Pakman's videos, which we just had a stream with Sargon and I and a bunch of other people. We talked to David about this. He's collapsing because of his ad revenue. You have Kyle Kulinski collapsing because of his ad revenue. You have all these YouTubers all over YouTube, including PewDiePie and others, big names, just dying because of the fact that they have no ad revenue. You just had Logic, who completely just was about to fucking have to go look for a job and, fall on his face and all that shit, and now he's relying on Patreon, and thankfully he's doing better. But you have other YouTubers that haven't managed that yet. They're struggling because this is their gig. But then you have the Young Turks, and I'm going to link a video by Hard Bastard, who's another small YouTuber, who looked into this himself, and he's not the only guy, that has found that the Young Turks seem to be completely untouched by this. And that's very fucking curious. It's very bizarre that you have the biggest names on YouTube and many, many other people that are deeply, deeply affected by this, but the Young Turks, for whatever reason, seem to be completely untouched, while at the same time that they are becoming increasingly more establishment. I've seen numerous people point this out all over the place, on YouTube, on Twitter, everywhere, on Reddit, that the Young Turks are repeating corporate talking points, mainstream media talking points, that they're becoming increasingly more like democratic establishment, and how bizarre that is. And maybe that's just the fucking coincidence involved in what I'm talking about here, but I swear to God, just based on what I've been seeing recently, I honestly think that there's some kind of play at hand here, where you have the corporatists, the corporate Democrats, just the corporatists in general, actually making a move on progressives and taking away the hyphen in the progressive corporatist alliance, where it is just going to be the progressives. And to be a progressive is to be a corporatist. It is to be a warmonger and an interventionalist and a globalist. It is just to be in favor of open borders and, transgenderism and all that other shit. So that's actually going to be the progressive part, but everything else is just going to be corporatist. So the talk about Social Security is going to go away. The talk about healthcare is going to go away. The talk about economics outside of pandering to blacks is going to go away. You're going to see all of this go away, and what's going to be left is the social issues that are all bullshit at this point, in large part, and corporatism. Those are the things that are going to be left, and there is going to be no actual progressivism left. And the guys that are out there that are so-called progressive champions like Bernie Sanders, they're just going to become corporatists and warmongers and interventionalists and fucking idiots and sellouts. It's amazing to me that anyone can call himself on the left and say, you know what, this random fucking dictator in the middle of some fucking shithole desert, let's go take him out. No benefit to us other than the fucking military-industrial complex, but I'm a leftist and I'm in favor of that. You don't fool me, Bernie Sanders. You don't fool me, progressives. You don't fool me. Nobody is going to fucking pull the wool over my eyes in relation to this. It's very clear to me what's going on, and that this is just another attempt by the powers that be to generate bullshit, to start another war. And I don't mean this to be any kind of denigration towards any of you that listen to this that are conservatives, but you're not going to beat corporatists. You're not going to win against them. You really aren't. Because the second that Donald Trump threw $50-something billion at the Pentagon, just threw money at them. Just like, here's $50 billion, fucking whatever. Just do whatever with it. Just bomb the desert. Do whatever. Who cares? You guys didn't say shit. And that's a serious issue with Trump. That he has globalists and corporatists all over his administration, and I don't hear shit. I don't hear one peep about that. I don't hear one conservative talking about corporatism, talking about the military-industrial complex. I hate to make this seem as though that I'm just asserting it, I'm just throwing it in your face, but I just don't see it. You guys got to do something. If the left is just going to be fucking retarded and or dead, it's time for conservatives to do something. To step up in any capacity to take on the corruption in our government. Because you guys seem completely disinterested. You don't seem to acknowledge any kind of corruption outside of, the teachers' unions or the unions in general. What power do they have? What are they controlling? What are they doing? It's a joke. There's nothing there. There's nothing going on. If unions had the slightest amount of power at this point in time, you'd have a Democratic president. You'd have more Democrats in Congress. You'd have Democrats in state houses because there's unions all across this country, and yet you control everything, practically. So what fucking practical purpose do the unions serve in politics at this point? What are they doing? What are they subverting in fucking some red state? What are they doing? Nothing. What office are they winning? Nothing. They're not winning anything. I honestly think that it's about time that conservatives step up and start doing their part. I know that it's great to have guys like Milo. It's great to have guys like Steven Crowder, who ultimately, both of them, do nothing besides entertainment, and that's fine. If they want to be entertaining, that's great for them. But, I just think that it's time for conservatives in this country to actually step up. And I have heard some conservative voices say that they are going to hold Trump's feet to the fire, and that's good to hear, but I think that it's important that there are more voices like that are being more outspoken about it. There seems to be kind of this notion of, well, it's time to shut up and just, unify behind this guy, even if he's completely contradicting what he campaigned on. I don't think you're going to be doing yourselves any favors by just laying down for this fucking guy. Laying down for the corporatists and the globalists. Just laying down for them. Because you have a guy in office with an R next to his name. It seems to me that the left wouldn't be satisfied by that, and hasn't been for quite a while, but has been cheated at every step of the way out of any actual reform. And one of the guys that was put into place to actually reform the left, who was Bernie Sanders, regardless of what you think of him, he seems to be bending more and more and more towards the corporatist establishment wing. There doesn't really seem to really be any kind of differentiation between the so-called progressives and the corporatists. There's less and less by the day. So it seems that they're just doing what I said they would have done, is just sell out. The ideology now matters less than the paycheck. And, if they are going to die, and if it is just going to be the corporatist left on the left, then conservatives have to actually get their shit together and actually stand for something, actually do something. You can't just go around griping about abortion for another 50 fucking years while our country falls apart completely. You gotta actually do something, guys. And I realize that this isn't the core of this commentary, but it is my thoughts on the matter that for anything to change on the left in relation to intersectional feminism and all of this, it is going to require the money to dry up, and for the idiots that are shelling millions of dollars into these fucking organizations for their continuation, outside of the cynical end of it, which I will talk about eventually, which is just the again, like, people putting money into these organizations, and then companies putting money into these organizations and having all kinds of affiliations with them, and then that leading directly to those organizations paying off politicians legally. Both sides get credibility. That's the transaction going on. But for now, I'll just leave it there. Thanks for listening, and I hope that someday in the fucking future I'll have a chance to actually work on some fucking content.